Okay, hi. I'm going to go through the partial fractions that we did in the last 3 weeks of term. You'll recognise the lessons, and I'm loading these up to YouTube so you can pause, do the questions before I do them, see if I can do them the same way, check that you know how to do it before you finish your summer homework ready to come back to college in September. So as a quick recap, partial fraction is breaking up a fraction into separate fractions, so kind of the opposite of when you brought fractions together with a common denominator. We're splitting it back up again, so we could have 2 factors on the bottom, 3 factors, repeated denominator, but we'll start off with this. So we're going to look at how we would break this up. There are 2 factors that we can see on the bottom, so our fraction must have come from something over x plus 1 add something over x minus 2. So we give that a label A and a B. Okay, brilliant. So if we were going to make sure we change this, so pretend we don't know that we've got the answer to this already. I haven't got anybody to tell me if I'm going wrong. We would multiply the top by x minus 2, and on the second fraction, because we've already got x minus 2, we need to multiply top and bottom by x plus 1, like that. Okay, so now basically we can say that x plus 4 must be equivalent to, has to be equivalent to a times x minus 2 plus b times x plus 1. Has to be that because it can't be anything else. Okay, this has got to be what's happening. So once you've got that, we can decide or guess certain values to try and get rid of all of a. So we're going to make this 0, and then we're going to make this 0, and sub in different values of x so that we can try and work out what a and b are. So a good way, get a good pen, a good way for laying this out is when x equals, and let's say we'll start with this one, so I'm going to say when x equals 2, and then you sub in all across that line when x equals 2. So we've got 2 plus 4 equals no a, because 2 minus 2 is 0, and plus 3b. So we can see that 6 equals 3b, therefore b must be 2. First answer. Okay, then we're going to say when x equals, let's have a look at this one then. So we're going to say when x equals minus 1, then we sub it in. We've got minus 1 plus 4 equals minus 1 minus 2. So I will write it. Plus, we know that's 0b. So minus 1 minus 2 is minus 3a, and minus 1 plus 4 is 3. So a has got to be minus 1. Okay, then you would go back. Well, I can cheat because I've got a rubber. And you would put a is minus 1 and b is 2. And that you would write that out again, and this bit here would be your answer. So mine's a bit of a mess because I've only got this room. Okay. Right, then we look at the next bit. So this one's got, it's called a repeated root or a repeated denominator. So what we need to do, and they've written it to you as they do sometimes. So they've shown you that one of the fractions is definitely x and the other one is x squared. So when we usually go for a common denominator, we go for this lowest common denominator, and obviously you would consider that to be you would consider that to be the b and the c could be the common denominators of what we were going through personally. But obviously this one could be, oh, that's not going to work, could be the other two. So you need to consider all the possible options. If one of those fractions don't exist, then the a, b or c will be 0. So the first thing to do is to consider each one in turn, realising that it must have a common denominator of what I've just written down on the bottom. So a over x needs to be x squared times x minus 1. So to make that x squared, I've got to times it by x. So I'm going to times top and bottom by x. Then I also need to times top and bottom by x minus 1. So now I know I've got that correct. I've got b over x squared. Well, I need it to be x squared times x minus 1. So I multiply it by x minus 1, top and bottom, because these are making them equivalent fractions. Now on this one, I've got x minus 1 on the bottom. I know I've got to have x squared times x minus 1. So I multiply top and bottom by x squared. Okay, now we can see that all of this on the top has got to be the same. Okay, so 1 has got to equal x minus 1, bx minus 1, and c x squared. So I'm going to save space, but please don't you write that out again before you do this bit, and then you write when x equals, looking at the first one here, I'm going to say when x equals 1. Okay, so I will sub it in then. I've got 1 equals, I've got no a's. Looking at 1 there, I'm going to have no b's, but I'm going to have c. So the first one, very simply, is c equals 1. Second term, when x equals, I'm going to go for 0. When x equals 0, I've got 0 equals, again 0a. I've got minus 1b, and I'm going to have 0c. So I've got, oh, somebody catch me out. So I've got 1 equals minus b, so b has got to equal minus 1. So I've got my second term. Now, as you can see, any other number is going to leave something else there. So, but that's okay because we've got b and c. So I'm going to just come up with 2 because I like positive numbers and it seems easiest, although you can come up with a much bigger number, Chandler, if you want to. So, subbing in, I've got 1, I've got a times 2, so I've got kind of, I could write it 2a, 2 minus 1. I'm going to sub it all in just to, so you can see what I'm doing. 2 squared, so I've got 1 equals 2 minus 1 is 1, so I've got 2a plus 1b plus 4c. Now I need to look and see what a, b and c is. I don't know what a is, so I've still got 1 equals 2a, but b is minus 1, so minus 1, c is 1, so that's 4. So adding those together I get 3, taking it off the other side I get minus 2, so minus 2 equals 2a, so a equals minus 1. Brilliant. Having got that then, what I need to do is to go back to the original question and then change the a for minus 1, the b for minus 1, and the c for 1. So you would write that as minus 1 over x squared plus 1 over x minus 1. Okay, that is what you would write down. Okay, next one. So this one's going to work out pretty much the same. Very difficult to identify, possibly, if you remember what this is called. So you've got okay, so that was difference of squares going on here. So you needed to have the 2 factors before you could move on. That's what you would do and move on. Here you've already got the factors. Problem is, this times this will give you x squared, and on the top you've got x squared. So first thing I'm going to do, and it's what you might have to do sometimes, this is going to end up as a plus b over x minus 2 plus c over x plus 1, solely because x squared into x squared goes once. So if we multiply out what we've got on the bottom, we might actually be able to solve this one without going into partial fractions. Let's see. So on the bottom then we've got x squared minus x plus 1, so very similar top and bottom. If we do this division, remember you could do it any way you like. Let me get rid of that. So I said it was x squared minus x minus 2, that's better, that's what it was, So x squared goes into x squared once, multiply all this out, put it underneath, take one away from the other, that's gone, and I'm left with 1 minus minus 2, which gives me 3. So in actual fact, I've got 1 and 3 over x minus 2, x plus 1. Now I will just do my partial fraction bit on that, and it will give me 1 plus a over x minus 2 plus b x plus 1. Then you would do everything you have to do for this partial fraction bit to make it equal 3 over. I'm not going to do that because I'm boring you, no doubt. Right, so that's partial fractions. I hope that's helped you on the recap, and fingers crossed you'll remember it all and be able to do all your homework. So good luck, and see you in September.